that she felt that and saw that. This is, while I was working on it, it gives you kind of a scale of the size of it, and it is a lot of work when you're dealing with something of that scale and pushing the clay around. Sometimes I push with the clay that it rips my fingernails off, and it bruises my fingertips. And and people say, well, how have you produced so many different pieces and all of that? And it there's something deep inside of me that is just so compelled to do this. And I know that this is what I was put on this earth to do. And it's a passion. It's not easy. There's times that I want to quit. There's times that I want to give up and find an easier route. But this is my destiny, and so I just keep pushing forward into it. And eventually, on the day of unveiling, it all feels worthwhile for some reason. And then it's on to the next one. So here you can see the scale of it. And you recognize him finished in bronze in your park. And what a beautiful setting that he's presented in. And I think it's the pose and everything. It shows such strength in his jaw, and he's pushing upstream through the river. The water is coming up around him, and it just shows his life and how he marched forward and persevered and pushed through the tide and the changes and had a clear direction of where he was going. You can see in his arm the power and strength and his connection to the land and to the environment. So it was such a great, rewarding experience to get to feel like I knew who this person was. In the hours of watching video and watching him speak and how he just lived through his own heart, didn't care about what anybody else really thought. He just said it like he felt it. And there were a lot of people that came along his side and supported him too. So this is another project I did for the Claremont University in Southern California. And the mascot for the men's college there was a red stag. And the female, it was an all-men's college, and they opened it up to females, and they adopted Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. And I think for all artists, we go back to the original inspired place of the Greeks and what they accomplished. And we look, whether it's philosophy and or literature or the three-dimensional arts, there's something of that period that captures, at least it captures my heart, and I know a lot of other creative people feel the same. And so to get to do Athena, I was so excited, and I had just gotten back from Italy, and I had traveled and worked in a studio there and sculpting, trying to learn the human form like I knew wildlife. And it was like somebody had just opened a box up, and I had been living in this little box, and I became very humbled at what I saw, that I just didn't even know that this type of work had existed. And to think, back in history and what small tools they had, and now we have welders and air grinders and all these different things to form the metal and work, and what they did, and how beautiful the craftsmanship was, and how talented they were. And I started thinking, what did it take for them to do that kind of work? And I was really frustrated, actually, to be honest, because I looked at my own work, and although I got lots of accolades, I saw something lacking, and I wanted to push through to that next level. I wanted to pursue the perfection that I had seen over there. And so I thought, well, they weren't limited by time as much as I am, and you're only as good as your reference. And I decided to take this project on as kind of my passion piece to really try to propel myself into the next level of art. And so I went to New York, and I went to the Metropolitan Museum and started looking at all of the great masters' works and studying how they handled the hands and the muscles and the shadows, and how they really accentuated the human form, and I realized they actually took it beyond what is actually there. They took and brought life into every portion of that thing. I've always focused on the eyes because I felt it was the window to the soul, but every part of the body and form was accentuated, and there were stories being told in the hands and the feet, and in every feature of the sculpture. And so I just started drawing and trying to really open myself up to what these masters were trying to teach me. Like I said, I haven't had formal education. I've just learned from observing and watching and making mistakes. And so this trip just really opened me up to a new level, and a level that I wanted to pursue and challenge myself to. And so I decided that for red stag also, that I didn't know the animal and I needed to travel to Europe and study him. And so I went on a trip with some people that were harvesting some, and I measured and I documented and I studied every muscle, bone, and tendon in it. And I realized that unlike our elk or our deer, they were their own unique animal. And then I hired a model for Athena, and I searched all over for the perfect model. I was looking for an intelligence and a strength and a wisdom that I could portray in Athena. And I found a picture of this woman in a modeling agency, and when I called the agency to find out if I could hire her, they said, "Well, no, she lives in California. We can find you a model closer." And I said, "Well, there's something about her eyes that really speak to me, and I want to use this one." They said, "Well, let us try locally." And so I went through hundreds of models, and I just didn't find one that had that same feeling to me. So finally, I called them back, and I said, "Where is this model?" Well, it turns out she lives in Claremont, right in the same town that I was going to be sculpting this. And she was a track and field athlete. She was studying law. Oh my gosh, is this not perfect? I knew that I saw something in those eyes that was Athena for me. And so I sculpted her portrait and just took every bit of my skill and pushed myself at every moment into the piece. This is the finished sculpture here, and I have a small version of it on the table along with a small version of Tom McCall. I encourage you to come and look at. You know, I didn't reach the perfection that I want to, and I realize that is the perfection of life, is that it's in the struggle, it's in the challenging yourself, it's in the pursuing of it that really is perfect, and that none of us will ever be perfect or do something that we probably consider to be perfection. But it's in our life's work and our challenges and overcoming the adversity and persevering to go to new levels and to try to improve every day, knowing that this day is I did my best, and tomorrow I'll do better. And so that's all I do in my work. And I know that you, as being in business, have had your own challenges. There are risks in business. There is adversity. There are obstacles to overcome every single day. And I just encourage you to persevere and do your very best and challenge yourself to that next level, and to live inspired, to open yourself up to the possibilities of what could be, and what, when in the face of adversity, knowing that there's an opportunity there somewhere to be seen and to experience and fulfill. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you. I really appreciate this, and I'm so honored.